Please stay with us. Lots to discuss. Well, another voice, Arun Singh, economist at D&B, also joining in. Mr. Singh, afternoon. How are you really estimating the Q1 GDP this time round? Are you also turning relatively optimistic now?
Yeah, definitely. I think we earlier also said that the first two quarter of FY14-15 will see a slight consolidation phase, and the second half of FY14-15 will see a little bit of recovery and revival. So first quarter of FY14-15, given the fact that this is a quarter of where IIP number has improved close to 4% an average number. Also we had election in this month, and if you see the historically election period, normally the economic activity shoots up. So net I think we are expecting 5.2% growth, better than previous quarter for the first quarter of FY14-15. Going forward for a year as a whole, 5.5% for 14-15. First two quarters we can see the a little bit improvement compared to the previous year, maybe 5.2 to 5.3% average for first half. Second half will see a slightly better growth, and 5.7 to 5.8% what we are expecting the second half. So net we are in a expectation that economy is set for recovery, provided that we don't get any fresh concerns from the domestic as well as the international concerns. In domestic, of course, the monsoon factor and the international geopolitical tension and crude oil prices.
Mr. Singh, your estimate for the first quarter of 5.2 is well below what Nomura seems to suggest. Also, what our expert last Friday from Anand Rathi seemed to suggest of 5.6%. So, what is it that is making you relatively more conservative? Is it that worries on the monsoon front have not entirely abated, or are you concerned that the services sector, which so far has held up, is not going to hold up in this first quarter? Where do you think the sectors are? Which are the sectors where you feel there is a difference between you and the other more optimistic estimates?
See, definitely there are expectation of improvement. This 5.2 and 5.6 number is mainly statistics number. The base expectation is there is an improvement. For me, we are not in as confident or as highly optimistic about others are. We are cognizant of what's happening on the inflation front, what's happening on the IP, especially on the services front. We have seen the services sector moderated significantly in the last two years, and of course, and services sector always works with the lag period. First of all, industrial improvement has to pick up, and that will have impact on the services sector. While industrial activity picked up during first quarter, other factors, if you see the agriculture, we are not expecting a significant jump on the agriculture factor, especially on food grain production. Secondly, services sector slight improvement we are expecting, but not as what it should be. So, of course, there are some concerns, around the overall macroeconomic number in the form of CPI, WPI number. WPI, of course, it was slightly better, but the CPI was elevated. The demand is picked up, but not that, up to our expectations. So, if I analyze all the scenarios, I basically I stick to a very conservative number. While this conservative number is still better than the previous 2 years.
Oh, absolutely. At 5.2, we're well above the 4.7% in the comparable quarter last fiscal. But there is a view, I don't know whether you would agree, that actually whatever improvement we see in the first quarter may not be sustained, because the poor monsoon impact will be felt only in the second quarter, number one. Number two, the bump up that the economy got because of the elections in the first quarter, that temporary bump up will also disappear in the second quarter. So whatever improvement we see in the first quarter may not be sustained. Do you subscribe to that view as well? Arun, if I can just repeat my question, I was asking you that there is a view that whatever improvement one may see in the first quarter may not be sustained in the second quarter, because the impact of the poor monsoon will be felt only in the second quarter, apart from which the temporary bump up which the economy got because of the elections in the first quarter will disappear in the second quarter. So second quarter numbers may not even match the first quarter numbers. Would you agree with that view?
No, certainly not. I mean, see, 5.2%, that's what we deliberately kept it very conservative number. 5.2% is not that high, and of course, for a second quarter there is a multiple challenge. One big challenge was the monsoon factors, but if you see that there is a recovery in the monsoon lately, and that will certainly have impact on the your agriculture number. But the second quarter, the biggest point was that by that time, the information spread to the world that we got the stable government in the center, the business optimism index. If you see, especially the Dun & Bradstreet business optimism index and CFO optimism index have shot up significantly during the this period, and that have translated to that there is a hope of increase in the investment activity. In the first time, if you see the annual report what released by the RBI, they also are slightly optimistic about the recovery in the economic forces. I think 5.2, 5.3% what it should be even in the second quarter, because of the the optimism in the corporate and the consumer, given the fact that we got the stable government in the center. Of course, second and third and fourth quarter will see slightly better improvement as compared to the first half. But we are not expecting any dent or any fall in the growth number during the second quarter of FY14-15.
And what kind of numbers are you expecting to see of GDP growth in the US second quarter?
Around 5.3%. Slightly better than the first quarter, but that's only the number. But net qualitative front, if you see, it's on par with the first quarter of FY14-15.
No, Arun, I was asking you about the US GDP growth. US GDP growth second quarter numbers are also due later this week, in fact on Friday. So in the first quarter saw actually a decline. The US GDP growth actually contracted by minus 2.1%. The first estimate suggests 4%. Will there be an improvement when we get the second estimates?
See, definitely, I think if you see there is volatility in the US market, of course there is hope and expectation that will go up. Exactly, this is very difficult for me to estimate the number, but I think the second quarter number will be slightly better than the first quarter. Slightly better than the first quarter.
And what is your prediction for oil prices? Will the softness in the market continue?
Yeah, see, that's contingent on the geopolitical tension and what's happening in the international market. As of now, if our assumptions are met or whatever we are expecting, ideally it should remain at the same level, slightly downside pressure next couple of months. And the next couple of months will decide, provided that there is no fresh concerns on the international market, that will decide where global crude oil prices will head. Fact that there are still some tensions and this will take its own time to subside. Maybe next 3 months we can see there is a volatility in the crude oil prices, but as far as our expectation is concerned, we are expecting at the same level for next couple of months. After that, we have to relook into the numbers and set a new assumptions criteria based on what's the development at that time. If of course we got the fresh concerns, it has to go up.
Mr. Singh, Maithili, just stay on for a minute. Some big stories coming for the power sector. Adani and Tata Power